Hey guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk to you about the new palette from Too Faced, the Natural Eyes. I guess I shouldn't call it new. It's basically reformulated from the existing palette that they had. But take a look at the outer packaging. It's beautiful. It's got nice little lacy details on it, the gold box that just slides out. It's all very chic. And then once you open up the packaging, palette, and there it is there. Again, it's got the same sort of lace motif on the outside, the pretty font on it, and the only thing that drives me a little bit crazy is that it's domed. And the only reason that that bothers me is just for storage, because you can't really stack other things on top of it. When you open it up, it's their classic 9-pan palettes that they have. The 3 larger pans here and then the 6 smaller ones on the inside, and you are getting a very large mirror as well. In terms of the packaging, it does close quite securely. It has a magnetic clasp to it. It's hard, I don't know, acrylic, plastic, I don't know, I'm not a materials person. But it is quite beautiful, and it does feel like it would be very secure. I don't think that this is going to come popping open or have anything, you know, where it just won't close properly. There is a scent to these powders, and I don't like it. I think it's supposed to be coconut, but it doesn't smell like coconut, you know what I mean? Like it's an artificial kind of scent. They said that they've reformulated the shadows with coconut butter to help make them creamier and whatnot. Sure, but I'm not wild on the smell. They knocked it out of the park with these peach ones, but this is not my favorite scent. Just something to be aware of. It doesn't bother me. It's not something that's going to make me return it or that really turns me off of the palette, but it's just something to note, especially if you are sensitive to smells, because their powders do tend to be strongly scented. So, I mean, you can smell it from a bit of a distance. But that being said, here's what you're getting. So there are 4 matte shades. So there's a white and then a couple brown options here. And then there are 3 more metallic sort of finishes. And then there are 2 which, when you see the swatches, they're sort of a matte base with micro glitter throughout. And I've got my comments on them in the swatches. So let's just get to the swatches now. Alright, so I'm starting to get the hang of swatches, but it's still not beautiful. However, better than they often are. So I've grouped them. I've got the matte shadows here and then the more shimmery ones here. Ignore my janky looking nails, they are what they are. So this one here is Heaven. This one is Strip Poker. Next to it is Cashmere Bunny, and then Sexpresso. And then moving on to the Shimmer Shadows, this one is Silk Teddy. And then we have Push Up Bra, followed by Honey Pot, Erotica, and Chocolate Martini. So there they all are there. These 2 down here, Erotica and Chocolate Martini, they're not really foiled shadows like these 3 are. They are kind of a matte base, but then they have a bunch of sparkle in them. Little bits of tiny pieces of glitter. And so for my eyes today, I set my primer with Heaven. I put Strip Poker into the transition, deepened it up a bit with Cashmere Bunny. Then all over the outer 3/4, I guess, of my lid is Erotica, and then I have Push Up Bra and Silk Teddy on this inner portion here. I've got Heaven on the brow bone. Underneath my lash line is Sexpresso, and I have that also buffed up into the crease as well, and everything's just really, really blended. I will note that Erotica, which is on my lid, the sparkle did fall down onto my cheeks, and in the blending process it's not very apparent on the lids that there's sparkle. I did go in with a flat shader brush and sprayed some of the powder with MAC Fix Plus, and that did help. And then just kind of patted it on to build up the intensity. But once it's applied to the eyes, the glitter, the shimmer aspect of it really just kind of fades away. So just be aware of that. It does swatch beautifully, but the blending process itself kind of knocks a lot of the effect away. So this palette is retailing for $48 Canadian on the Sephora website. I think the price point is a little bit high for what you're getting. It is on par with their other palettes, so it's not like they're gouging for the sake of, you know, it's a new release. But these ones come in at $59. You're getting 16 shadows in here, you're only getting 9 in here. I think it's a little bit high for what it is, but having said that, these shadows do perform every bit as well as they do in their chocolate bar palettes. I don't feel ripped off in that sense. The packaging is beautiful, the shadows perform beautifully, and I really like the color selection as well. So I don't feel offended by the price. So that was sort of a roundabout way of saying it may be a little bit pricey, but who cares? Unfortunately, I don't have the original Natural Eyes palette, so I can't compare apples to apples to let you know if this one performs any better or worse, anything like that, to the original. And I did bring out the chocolate bar palettes that I have. I have Bonbons, Chocolate Bar, and Chocolate Gold. Some of the matte shades in some of those palettes slightly resemble these ones or are fairly close, but these are not dupes. Like, if you have the Chocolate Bar palette, this one is not a dupe. It's not a replication of it. I guess it's late. I apologize. And I have existed at court for the last 2 days, so my brain's just a little bit fuzzy. But, I mean, okay. Let's just use some fucking visual aids here. They are not the same. There's the long and short of it. While there may be like a matte shade that look fairly close to each other, these are not dupe palettes. So if you have the Chocolate Bar palette, this one still stands alone and this one still brings something new to the mix. I apologize for that rambly mess. So because I can't really compare it to the original, all I'm going to do is just let you know my thoughts on how the shadows perform in and of themselves so that you can decide from there whether or not this is something that you want to check out or purchase. So what I will say is this, the matte shadows are soft, they feel like velvet, they're very smooth. As you saw in the swatches, they're not skippy or patchy, and they do blend out very nicely. Especially the dark brown, I did find that I didn't have any difficulties with that one. Sometimes dark shadows like to just stick where they're put and not move around. And I found that Sexpresso, which the name is a little silly, but whatever. But I did find that that dark brown shadow did blend very nicely. The white shade, or I guess it's a very, very light cream. It's not a true white. It is very pigmented, as you can see just on the finger swatch there. So when I used it to set my primer, a little bit goes a long way. This is one of those ones where you're going to want to be careful going into it, especially if you have skin that's any deeper than my skin tone, because it is going to show up and it is going to be quite stark on your skin. The shimmery shadows, so Silk Teddy Push Up and Honey Pot, they're what you come to expect from Too Faced in terms of shimmers, with the exception of their holiday palettes, because their shimmers and their holiday palettes are crap. But in here, they're beautiful. I did use a setting spray when I applied them, so it did boost up the intensity of them. But even without that, even just in finger swatches, they are beautiful. Again, like there's Silk Teddy right there. It's not crumbly, it's not powdery, and they are just really beautiful. With a nice reflect. Not too metallic, not like what you're getting in the Chocolate Gold palette, but enough to bring life to the eyes and to really stand out. The two, let's call them glittery shades. They're not really glitters per se, but there is just this high intensity sheen to them. Erotica and Chocolate Martini. There they are up close. I mean, you did see the swatches, but there they are up close. So you can see that glitter, especially in Erotica. And like I said when I showed the swatches, once it's blended out, it's kind of hard to see that glimmer or shimmer or glitter, or now I sound like I'm talking like a kid's show, Shimmer and Shine. Anyways, there it is blended out on the hand, and so it does lose a lot of the impact. I don't mind it per se, because it does make it very, let's say, work appropriate or everyday appropriate. And there is still some there, but when you're applying it, you're going to want to be careful with respect to fallout. And if you use a setting spray, it does help to keep the shimmer in place rather than just letting it rain down on your face. Of those two, I do note that Chocolate Martini, the one down here, it just feels a little bit dry. The rest of them, there is none of that. But Chocolate Martini just feels just slightly dry. I mean, there's no issue picking up the powders, and I mean, it is still quite pigmented there, but I just wanted to mention that just for the sake of letting you know. So overall, I really don't have much in the way of negative comments for this. My gripes are minimal. The packaging I would prefer if it was flat, but I get what they're going for here, and it does, I get the aesthetic of it. It's just for practical purposes, I would like it to be a little bit more flat. That's sort of my complaint with the chocolate gold as well. Like, this looks cool as hell. However, because it's raised, you can't really stack anything on it. So they're minor complaints. It's really not a deal breaker for me at all. And the scent, I'm not a fan of it, but I'll still continue to use this palette. It's really not a big issue for me at all. And that's really going to come down to personal preference. So I'm going to leave it there with my review of the palette. I personally really like it. I can see myself using this over and over again, especially for work. And there's really not a lot of thought to go into it because they all play well together. There's no shadows here that would sort of counteract with anything else or kind of be jarring if you applied the two of them together. So for that purpose, this is a fantastic beginner-friendly palette or just an everyday staple. So from that perspective and the fact that these shadows do perform beautifully, I would recommend this palette for sure. The other thing that I picked up when I ordered this one was one of their lipsticks as well, the Natural Nude lipsticks that came out, and I grabbed the shade Nip Slip. Slightly titillating, if I do say so myself. But I was just going off of the picture swatches that they had because my local Sephora doesn't have them in store yet. So I went by the description and the pictures, and here's what it looks like on me. Personally, I think it's a little bit on the brown side for my liking. I'm not sure that it's the most flattering on me, but I mean, the packaging is beautiful. Here it is again. It's got that same lacy detail. And it reminds me very much of the Revlon butter lipsticks back in the day. So there it just pulls up here. It has a scent to it, but it's very light. And I don't know, it doesn't bother me at all. It's not very noticeable. The lid clicks into place. It is very smooth to apply. It does feel very buttery and moisturizing. Not sure about the wear time, but let's take a look. It has creeped into the corner of this mouth a little bit, so I've had it on, I'd say about 45 minutes now. So there's a little bit of movement on it, not nearly as bad as that melted latex crap that I talked about in my last video, but just something to be aware of. I think they're $26. If I didn't mention, the palette is $48. I think I mentioned that. These ones are $26. I think that's on the high end for what you're getting, to be honest. I mean, I'm not talking in terms of product amount. There is 3.6 grams in here, so that's fairly standard for a lipstick. But it's nothing particularly innovative or new. The packaging is beautiful, but $26 is a bit of a steep price tag for what you're getting, in my opinion, especially if it is going to be risky in that it may end up in the corners of your mouth and make you look gross. So, at any rate, I'm going to wrap this up here, and I will thank you for taking the time to watch. I'll see you in my next video, guys. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.